Okay, time to get the day started with some flying. Okay, today is the day we start on our cross-country journey here. We're going to do several grass strip landings, running from South Carolina in this beautiful Anderson Regional Airport to really wherever we find. We're just going to start heading west and see how far we get. Try to hit some cool waypoints on the way, and overall just enjoy the flight, enjoy some of the low pass scenery we're going to get, and continue to improve our tail dragger landings and takeoffs. And if you've seen our Blue Ridge Mountain video, you will know that we had some discrete struggles pulling into some of the shorter runways with some of the more difficult approaches. So, gonna keep improving, and let's get started. Okay, we have finished getting this plane started. We're going to, we got everything set for takeoff. One thing I am going to do real quick, make sure that we are running 100% fuel. So we are actually going to of course, now everything is wanting to die on us, but no, we are going to run 100% fuel. See how far we get on a single set of fuel today, and let's get off to taxiing. So we're taking off from runway 35 here at Anderson Regional. So we're going to do a little bit of S turning here. We can see okay, but not 100% ideal. And yeah, we'll get started here. I'm curious. I haven't actually run this plane from full fuel down, so I recognize we're gonna have some level of weight discrepancy we have to account for, which shouldn't be an issue. But you know, gonna extend the takeoff and landing spots, so we will hold short here before jumping on the runway too much. Bob the nose a little bit. Make sure there's nothing coming on this active South Carolina runway. And we'll continue out. Also going to make sure we are one notch of flaps down, which looks like we are. And begin taxiing down for a complete turnaround down here on runway 35. Give you an idea what we're running with here. Back in the X Cub. Big Carbon Cub fan lately. Pretty fun plane. I like it simple, modern avionics, but still kind of rugged, hand flying style if you want. Not to say it doesn't have autopilot, because it does, which is convenient for some of the longer stints you can have. And you know, I don't know that we'll make full probably advantage of that, but we may or may not use the flight leveling mode, which is pretty nice. Set a heading, hand control it onto that heading, and then actually, you know, flight level mode in that direction. So let's get ready to take off. Looks like we got a little bit of wind trying to pull us. Rudders are a little sensitive on this plane, so we got a little bit of a balancing act to do here. And we're off. Easy. We have flaps up. Continue to climb, get about 2,000 feet up in the air. Make sure we stay pretty close over the runway here. So yeah, the goal of this is we're really to get up in the air, start flying west, and at some point I'd like to do the whole country, just from a kind of round robin, you know, strategy. But really enjoying the grass landing strips. Excuse me. Really enjoying the grass landing strips. Really enjoying this plane and kind of the view that you get out of it. You know, just recently there was a sim update, so some of my avionics are a little off whenever it comes to, you know, estimated time on route and distance, but the graphics are supposed to have improved, the performance is supposed to improve, and as such I've actually turned a couple things up just to try to enjoy some of the features of the sim more. But yeah, we'll get up here. We're up at about 2,000 feet now. We're actually going to back the throttle off a little bit, back the prop down a little bit, just make sure we don't overspeed the prop. I'm going to try to get this into a nose neutral attitude, and then again, enjoy. So this right here is the upper end Lake Hartwell. Hartwell being a pretty cool, pretty massive lake. Funny enough, Hartwell Jackson Atlanta Airport down south a little ways. And I've debated. I can't decide if we want to go down to Hartwell Jackson and fly around Atlanta, or if we want to stay up north a little bit and just begin the journey west. But I think regardless, what we'll do here is fly over the lake, enjoy some of the scenery, head south, and excuse me, this morning haven't had my coffee. We'll head south, check into what all the area's got to offer. Maybe stop through Atlanta, do a couple fly-arounds, and then yeah, head west. Not sure if we want to hit Tennessee first. If we were staying up north, that's probably how I'd go. I'd probably hit Tennessee and then continue west, but we may go Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. So that'll depend, but should be good regardless. Looks like we got the plane pitched kind of how we want it. It's a good cruising speed. It's a little high, which is how I'd prefer it. But yeah, also see, so that's not changing. I seem to have lost, because I previously had it, but I seem to have lost where the barometric pressure for the G1000 is. This seems to continue changing the heading on it, which is strange because this is also the heading adjustment. And on this one I can change the barometer, but have not been able to locate the avionics barometer change. So fortunately, I think we're going to be pretty close to this 2992 mark, and if need be, I can actually adjust it over here and reference what I need to reference from here. We're actually going to try to pull this back, modify our fuel consumption a little bit, make sure we don't lean it out too much, but we're just going to see for when the engine starts to, you can see it starting to pitch down. It's definitely having an effect. A little bit too lean. That seems to be pitching the nose back up. Supposedly, you're supposed to be able to do that, in real life at least, you're supposed to be able to do that with the sound of the engine. As soon as it starts to run rough, you're able to identify that you're pulling too much fuel out of it. And as low as we're flying, it's not like we're going to be super lean, so we don't need to pull all that much more air into the engine. But I was seeing recently where a plane, and it's an older plane, so it's not this new technology, But we're an older plane. They actually have a monitor for the EGTs, or the exhaust gas temperature sensors, and similar how do they do in carbureted cars, or race cars, at least from my understanding, is having a targeted EGT temp and seeing when the temperature begins to peak, and then that's where your peak lean performance is at. Also, something to note, I'm pretty sure back there, 99% sure, is a field that we've landed in. Is actually the intro video for the channel. We will see here if we go to nearest and look for 0GA1, Mustang Field, that's right. So we have landed at Mustang Field before. But I think we'll actually do a little stop here at Aeronautique Incorporated. Interested in it just because it's a similar identifier as Mustang Field, and because we're coming up to it. I don't know that I've gone this far south on the lake. So although we have the avionics, we're actually going to do a little bit of VFR into this channel over here, where I believe that's going to lead us into that Aeronautique deal. We might do a little landing. We'll have to see. So we are full fuel right now. We should be able to see that by our fuel indicators and the wing levels. Admittedly, that is not something I've been super proficient in reading. Part of the issue that I've had in reading that is I think maybe on my monitors, the graphical portion of it, looking one way on this side and then looking a different way on this side. So I mean, we can still get pretty close, and I think we'll be okay. Maybe sitting higher up will give us a better straight-on reading when we're not in the sun, at least. But we'll address later. The fly into this channel here. Actually gonna pull the throttle back a little bit, dip the nose down, and get a little bit closer to this water here. Hopefully I can stop yawning here at some point, considering we're going to have a fairly long set of flights here today. I may have to do a little clip and edit here after a couple landings and go get some coffee started. But fun thing to note, so when trying to make the intro video, I am by no means a video editor, guru by any means. I don't do that. It's not part of my career in any capacity. It's not part of, currently at least, not part of any of the hobbies that I do up until now with the channel. But anyways, was trying to make a recording for that, and having something a little trick. I couldn't even determine how to use the drone camera on flight sim for a while, so if that tells you kind of my proficiency with this kind of thing, that's about where it stands. But I was using, I will either throw up an annotation or link it, but using a tool or an application where you can replay a specific part of your flight that you've recorded. And it was all takeoff and landings, I believe, actually, at Mustang Field. But it was overstressing the aircraft, because I think it's just recreating what's actually occurred in the sim. And since I have all the damage features on, it was overstressing the aircraft and then becoming incredibly frustrating, because I would have to continuously restart flying, because I was more or less breaking the plane while just replaying something. I wasn't actually flying, and at the time of flight, I wasn't doing anything. But with how I was scrubbing the replay, it was overstressing the plane. So I have turned overstressing the aircraft off, and I need to turn it back on. I think at one of these airports, if I go down to make some coffee and kick back into a recording, I will reestablish that. But But yeah, just kind of a funny story. It took me like 4 or 5 times of having to restart where I was finally like, you know what? I will just turn this feature off for the sake of this this exercise. But looks like a pretty cool like little airstrip community. I didn't know this existed. Haven't flown down to this one. We'll do a low pass into it, see if we can land. I kind of like this approach because the trees seem a little bit lower. So yeah, we'll turn around. We're down at a pretty good slow speed to throw the flaps down, and we are heading 266. I'm gonna move my heading indicator to about 260. Minus 180 should get us down to point, about heading at 80 degrees. So that's how I'll check and make sure I'm on the right course coming back. And yeah, let's turn this bird around and sit back down in the cockpit a little bit, have a better indication of the nose attitude. Sometimes it can be a little misleading as you sit higher in the cockpit on what the attitude of the plane is, because you're looking down more or less. So we've overshot it a little bit, somewhat by design, to try to get in a good low pass here. May have, oh, there it is. All right, had lost it for a minute, but I think we got it now. So we'll throw one set of flaps down. We're just gonna see. I know we're full fuel, so it's, stopping distance is certainly a concern. Not to mention we have to drop in here pretty aggressively. But I think if we could get in about right here, I think we could actually make that work. So we're gonna throw the throttle back up a little bit. Throw the flaps back up. Pretty sweet lake feature here. Apparently they've improved some of the shoreline water textures and the response to aircraft on and above the water, given the new update with actual water aircraft, water capable aircraft, I guess I should say, which is pretty cool. So apparently you're supposed to now have kind of a wake behind you, which is neat, and then additionally you should have not just the wake from the skis, but you should have some of the spray from the aircraft propeller. So pretty neat update. I haven't actually taken advantage of the water skis. I might do a special on that and try to go somewhere different. I'm a big fan over here on the East Coast, just because the terrain's kind of nice. It's got a little bit of elevation. If you go over towards the mountains over there, you can get a lot of mountain flying and elevation change, where it's not like Rocky Mountains or California mountains, but it is some nice hidden gems. Some of the lakes up there are really cool. So I might either do some flying up there or switch it up completely. Maybe do something in another country, do something in Alaska, and kind of juice up the locations a little bit. I know that I've been tending to focus on some of this East Coast, Southeast Coast area, but we'll see. We'll play it by ear. First, we're gonna try to not crash going into this landing strip over here. So we're gonna start slowing her down a little bit. So bringing back the throttle gently. Not too abrupt, because we're not trying to fall out of the sky right here. We're already on a descent. Honestly, I'm wondering if it's better to come in on the right side of this tall tree. Someone trim that tree. I think the left is technically a little bit lower, but the right seems to be maybe a little more in line with the runway. I think we're just gonna overshoot both of them. Throw another set of flaps down to help us float here. And there we go. So it should be wheels on the ground to slow down. Oh no, not the tree! Okay. We're just gonna take a look at this poorhouse. Let's assess. I mean, we're right there. We're right there. Oh, we actually, I take it back. We're not right there. We are, I think we are in this house. Yeah, we're definitely in the house. Definitely in the house. Okay, so what did we learn here? One, short landings, full fuel. I'm not quite there yet. But two, gotta work on the brakes. I think we actually came in at a decent area, but it is tough with these wheels. I'm finding I still get I try to be very smooth, try to come in. I'm still getting a little bit of a hop. We're gonna see if we can just like glitch through this house. Oh no. Okay, I am back, and while I cannot guarantee that the yawning will stop, we can work on not crashing into houses, and that's what I can promise here. So naturally, after our brief visit to the neighbors, you know, we are getting kicked back off here. We're gonna say we were 4 gallons an hour. We certainly weren't up for an hour or so. We'll say we were down 99%. Does it make a tangible difference? Probably not. Probably not. But that's okay. All right, so we are max takeoff power. We got all the switches. Leave that over there. And, well, yeah, I guess we'll kick this Johnny back off. I did go get another drink. I didn't get coffee. Didn't want to take too much time today, but well, too much time outside of the sim. But we're gonna go full throttle here. Ooh, Johnny. She wanted to turn on me. So we should have plenty of speed. And we are no flaps in the air. All right. Again, we're gonna get probably only up to about 1,500 feet this go round. Just to keep us a little lower, enjoy some of the terrain on a more intimate level. Level off here. Okay. Alright, so we're gonna drop some of the throttle here. I'm manually having to push that nose down. I'd like, though, to get it. So we're gonna drop the propeller down a little bit. Lean out some of our mixture. We should be running a little bit less fuel consumption. So let's see here. Let's see if we can trim some of this out. So I think that has helped. Don't need to increase speed at all. I think we are good. Just try to, again, trim some of that out, but not too much. Don't want to over trim the plane downward, but let's see here. All right. Zoom out. Looks like there's plenty of little strips around here. Let's actually see, though. There's Anderson. So, Anderson, we made it all of 16 miles before running into someone's house. Just not a big deal. Not a problem. I think we've done Hawk's Nest, which is pretty fun. Pickens County. Pretty good gun range up there. Townsend Airstrip. Interesting. Let's see here. Those are nearest airports. Let's back out of all those. Let's go to... Origin was actually 0. GA2 in this case. But let's see. KATL. Let's see. Okay, so it's more southwest, which is cool. It looks like there's a couple on route there. So let's try that. Not interested in autopiloting the plane, really, but you know, checking what other places we can go. Looks like we've snuck up to 2,000 feet unintentionally here. We'll drop power back a little bit, and then we're also going to lean. There we go. Looks like we're not losing any power, not losing any performance right now. We're nice and neutral. So this will be a good time to use the level feature, but we have manually made the plane fairly pitch neutral. Although, as I say that, we're down at descending at 250 feet per minute. But it looks like it's balancing and bouncing back and forth. 86 miles. So it looks like, contrary to what I actually thought, Atlanta was a little bit further than I expected. So, along the way, there's nothing obvious in between other than 33 GA. I'm curious what that strip's like. So, we'll keep on cruising here. As a matter of fact, let's see. 33 GA. Hudson River Landing Airport. It's private use, permission required prior to landing. Activated in July of '95, so it's only a couple months older than me. 7 miles northeast of Carnesville. Elevation's about 665 feet. Let's see here. How long is runway 1 and runway 19 obstruction? None. On runway 19, there's 50 foot of trees. Good to know. It's got the owners here. We'll leave. It's public information, but we'll leave their information out of it. It's 100% local general aviation. I'm curious. Okay, so it's a 2,000 by 50 foot runway, and it's turf. So I believe it's going to be off the river, and we might. I wonder. This is that's the master. I was curious. Can we? Interesting. So this must be hardwired into the master deal. I was going to do a little exercise in VFR flying, and have us hit the river and follow the river left at the fork and find the airstrip, but in lieu of a convenient way to do that, other than, you know what we can do? Just do that. Problem solved. So we got to be on the lookout for a river. Apologies. Had to confirm. I was, for some reason, had a small panic that I wasn't actually recording, but I am. I am indeed. So, looks like on our left screen here, we can in fact see when some rivers are coming up, which, to be fair, is pretty helpful, because some of these, the way that they're modeled, it's not so much whether they're there or not, but the way that they're modeled, they can come up as a texture that's just like flat land, which doesn't end up helping anybody. So, pretty nice to have that. So it looks like there's some water over there, and that we're supposed to be crossing water below us. Oh, there's some water over there, so I think there's a river. Alright, we're gonna pull up a little bit, bleed back the throttle. We are going to check here, because we're kind of at a forked area. Clearly, my visual flight skills leave something to be desired. But for example, here's one of the rivers that we're supposed to be following, and the texture on it is not all that different from that of a texture of the standard ground. Now in the distance, you can see some of the reflection and make it out. Up front, that can just look like a hill. So, looks to be descending fairly quick. We're going to trim back up. We were trimmed down with as much throttle as we had in, but now we are throttled back a little bit. And we're just going to follow this river feature underneath. So you can see where there's some elevation change. Again, it's like being from Texas and living in Texas for so long, and then you know, flying over Texas in the sim and flying in and out in real life as well. Not piloting, but being on flights in and out of Texas. It's interesting because once I moved out of Texas, the greatest state, I might add, I moved to a fairly, dynamic elevation area. So as opposed to, I didn't realize how flat Texas was. And there's the Texas Hill Country that, you know, in a car certainly seems like a lot of elevation change. But I did not realize how flat Texas actually was until having moved away from Texas into a place that's more mountainous. So it is interesting that to see some of the elevation change and kind of enjoy and appreciate some of it, even when it's not, you know, we're not deep in the Blue Ridge Mountains or anything like that, where there's, you know, a ton of elevation change, or in the Rockies or anything like that. But certainly some elevation change on more of a, you know, lower scale. So pretty enjoyable. I like it. I think what we're gonna do is just set our heading so we kind of have a beacon here. This is the direction we're heading, and we know that it should be off to our right. Another thing, like flying down in South America, and I'll probably do some videos on it, but I use On Air Virtual Airlines as a kind of a fun service to do some flights to new places, try some different planes out. I like the business side of it. I think it's fun to. It's like a tycoon that's more interactive. You know, like you know, Roller Coaster Tycoon, Sim City, Cities Skylines, all of those. But it's pretty enjoyable, and it had some stuff in South America that I had to fly. So. Had my person transported down there, and then I flew a little bush plane. I think it was a Savage Cub, like 80 miles. I did not realize how far 80 miles felt like. Oh, speaking of which, I think not speaking of 80 miles, but I believe that's going to be our airport right there. And it looks to be something I think we can achieve. That is what I said last time, though, shortly before running into a house. So we will see. We will see. Actually dip low here and prepare for a flyover, a little approach test pass, if you will. But yeah, they had me flying in South America, and I had already done a Caribbean trip, which was really fun. It was bouncing all over, basically island hopping. Unfortunately, the times that I was available to do it, it does it all real time, so unfortunately most of the time was in the evening and it was kind of dark. So some of the day flights I really got to enjoy, but you know, some of the nighttime flights were more, I guess, more routine or more kind of procedural, less sightseeing and enjoyment, and more, you know, let's get from place to place, make sure we don't crash and kill all the passengers, lose the cargo. But all of that to say, being in South America, flew that Savage Cub like 80 miles, which is a long way, I learned, in a Savage Cub that doesn't have like a 200 knot cruising speed. So flew it over, got in one of the jets. I got in the CJ4, the Citation CJ4, and then had to do a check ride. And on air, you have to do these check rides to, you know, confirm you're proficient enough with the aircraft. It's the same check ride for every single aircraft, so I hesitate to say that it's anything, you know, thorough, but it's a neat feature regardless. I said that I thought I'd be able to make this, but I am a little skeptical now, because it is pretty... We might be able to save some of the approach by coming in like this. We will return to that story momentarily. So if we get down, oh, that's gonna be steep, because you can already see those trees coming up. I'd like to do it. I would really like to do it. I'm a bit conflicted, to be honest, because I know I just crashed and I should stop doing that. But I also know I do love a good grass strip landing, and that looks to be a pretty exciting one. Against probably my better sim aviation judgment, which doesn't count for a whole lot, as you can tell, between the last landing I just had, and if you have seen the I think it was the Blue Ridge Mountain. It was either the Blue, maybe it wasn't the Blue Ridge Mountain. It was one of the last two videos. If you saw where I basically ran out of runway, which turned into me running into the trees. Well, I take it back. I didn't actually run into a tree. I hopped over, and by over I mean into a gully, and it was not pretty. It's so funny how big that strip looks until you actually get to it, because it looks like that's part of it that you can use, but it's really not. It's too angled. Okay, we're gonna try it. We're gonna give ourselves a longer approach though. Anyways, if you have seen that, you saw where I bunny hopped into the opposite side of the hill. Somehow didn't break anything. Not sure how that. I mean, real life broken plane for sure. Sim, they were very polite to not have killed me, but bleed the speed off now. Long story short, my simulation aviation judgment perhaps could use some improvement, but I imagine across this long trip across the U.S., certainly the southern U.S., and then I hope to loop back. Not sure how I'm going to do it. I don't know if I'm going to zigzag. I don't know if I'm going to go just south and then north and then fill in the rest later. I have no idea. I don't have a plan. I think I'd like to to go through the south for sure, just because it's where I'm familiar with the south on land as far as driving. Flying, I've flown across the south several times, but you know, still like, okay, I think I got the runway in sight. It's right over that left bump on the, like that left cowl bump there. So we're gonna bleed this back. Intake manifold pretty low on the reading, which is good. That's what we want. We'll confirm we're a notch of flaps down. So we're probably gonna go multiple notches of flaps down. We're just gonna bleed this speed right off so that we're having to give, I think, okay, I'm gonna try a different thought here. So whereas before I'm having to turn a lot before I get it straightened out, I'm just going to overshoot the trees so that all I'm doing is dipping it down. Okay, so I should be over the trees. Yep. So we've thrown another notch of flaps in. Almost ran the nose into the ground. Okay. Oh! Still almost running it into the ground. These brakes. Johnny's got some 6-piston Brembos. Okay. Let's turn this bird around. We did it, barely, but we did it. And we did not hit anything. Again, I think less fuel, maybe a little bit easier, but anytime we're using those brakes, we are swinging the whole plane forward. And it's a balance that I have not found. There's been some where I can balance it on the wheels, but I struggle because the plane wants to go forward whenever you're on the brakes. And to be fair, this is the modulation I have. Oh, hold on. Is that? No, okay. That's the modulation I have on the brakes. It's just all the way engaged, not all the way engaged. And because of and I'm using a brake pedal, but because of the way that it actually engages them, it does it like in a slow pattern. It's not like totally on off, but it's a little deceiving because you're like, okay, I'm slowing down, and then it gets all the way down, which is like parking brake depth of brakes. So that's one I might have to work out in the menus and figure out how I can get a more modular kind of brake feel. Actually, I had to redo, after the update, had to redo my rudder pedals to make sure that those were working as intended. And I had to do a little bit of damping too. But we made it. We landed. You know, we'll come up by the little house over here. I think we've bled all the flaps off. We're gonna throw our takeoff flaps on just in preparation. But come over here, get a nice breakfast. I mean, every good private airstrip's got to have good breakfast, right? We make it to Texas. I definitely want to get into a place, Hicks Airfield. It's not too terribly far from where I grew up. And they have a restaurant called The Beacon, if anyone's ever interested. And yeah, it's just a small little airport. You go eat some food there. Great breakfast, and you get to watch airplanes take off and land right in front of you. You do have to share the runway when driving to, or not the runway, but the taxiway when going to the restaurant. But that's okay. It makes for a good time. So, anyways, the old X-Carbon Cub working all right. Got our takeoff flaps down and ready, and I think we will we'll take back off. We'll keep heading south towards Georgia. I know we're a ways away now, but we will change our I forget, can't scroll wheel that. We are gonna change this to whatever we're at now, 33 GA. Do that and that. Enter. All good. Just a little housekeeping. Not super pertinent since I haven't been using the autopilot, but not a bad thing to have in. Throw our mixture back up a little bit. So interesting. I was having this issue after the update where like everything would highlight when I went over it, which I didn't like. So I turned a bunch of settings off, but I don't know which one actually turned it off. And whichever one I turned off, I apparently also turned off. Sorry about that. We're going to need to do a little S turn in here to make sure we can see what we're doing. Whichever one I turned off, I happened to also turn the like the overlay that'll tell you the status of each of those controls. So for example, like with mixture, I could see if it was 70% or cut or full rich, or what the status was. Well, now I can't. So I'm gonna leave it. I kind of like it's a little more like hands-on, a little more raw. I kind of like the extra ability for things to go wrong, which just for I wouldn't say realism's sake, really just for pure enjoyment. I like the challenge. So yeah, enough talk. Let's get this bird back in the air, get down towards Atlanta. We're gonna do some fly arounds around Atlanta, and then we'll try to head. We'll go nonstop down to Atlanta, try to actually see the city. And then we'll try to get west a little ways before stopping at another grass strip of some sort. So probably not the preferred takeoff direction, since there's a lot of obstacles on the way right there that you're gonna have to overshoot, especially running full fuel. So we're gonna go flaps up. But I had taxied down that way and I was talking, and you know how that goes. So we're gonna sit here and try to get up about 2,000 feet. Again, we're gonna go pretty much direct down 60 miles. So it's a good little trot in this plane. It's certainly not a short trip for a 100-knot cruising plane. We're gonna get our trim set up. We're gonna get our propeller backed off a little bit, lean things out a little bit, and actually pull our throttle back as well until we're about 6 gallons per hour. So I think that's kind of the sweet spot. If we can get the manifold up to about 20, trim this plane back up. Keep the manifold at about 20, RPM sub 2,700, and our fuel flow about 6 to 8. As a matter of fact, we can actually see here. Let's check wind vector, speed and direction. So we have like more or less no wind. 1 knot of wind against us, not a big deal. Should be pretty good fuel economy. But yeah, showing 40 minutes to get there. I'm curious what we can see here on the map, because I know it's avionics base, so I know we're looking. KATL's pretty huge airport, but I am curious in relation. I've been down. I've actually driven to Atlanta to take a flight. I've flown in several times, but I've also just driven down to take a flight. And I'm curious. Apologies for the on-screen tab there, but I am curious in relation to the city where it's actually at. So we may do a little Google search to try to find that out. We will trim down a notch or two. Seems appropriately sensitive to the trim, which I like. It makes it pretty easy to fly. Okay, interesting. So we may actually not even go all the way down to the airport. It looks like downtown Atlanta is actually north north of the airport. So I think, in the interest of time, excuse me, the yawns are coming fewer and farther between, but they are not going, that's for sure. In the interest of time, we actually won't go all the way down to Atlanta International Airport. I think we're gonna fly down, enjoy some of the kind of the farmland scenery, and even you can see some of the mountains up north. Wouldn't have been a bad trip to go up there and go through near Heaven's Landing and some of the other cool kind of northern Georgia areas, but again, wanted to get down and hadn't decided until we took off. I think I've decided now. We're gonna try to grab some of the southern lot. So it's gonna be a little bit more flat. Gonna be a little less maybe directly entertaining, just based on the kind of flying. And it's funny. I watched some of the streams from sim flight YouTubers, and they do these like 13-hour airline streams where they're at 40,000 feet, and it's not that that's not entertaining. Typically their personality is really what drives that to be a super enjoyable experience, and I enjoy the flights as much as the next person. I can't honestly say I've sat through an entire 13-hour one and paid attention the whole time. I have typically had it on in the background, but for what I have seen of them, the interesting part is really taking off and landing, which is what I enjoy doing, and I recognize that I'm not very good at it, and this plane in particular, and also just in general. Sorry, I was trying to take a peek down. Apparently there's a strip over here, but I wanted to see that. Anyways, again, it's off of our rear right wing. I guess it's in one of those fields. Probably over there. Anyways, this looks like a major highway. But yeah, I do enjoy it, but taking off and landing to me is the exciting part, at least. And while I don't want to just constantly be taking off and landing at a million different airports on on a trip either, I'd like to have kind of a targeted goal of where I want to be and stop on a couple places along the way. That's kind of what we're going to be in the mix here with. It's not going to be pure bush flying where we're going in and out of really difficult landing and takeoff areas, or where we're constantly landing on inconvenient places. Although largely I have seemed to found those, but I think that's more my own inability than any of the landing strips faults. But no, we're gonna do a little bit of a targeted. Let's get to a specific area or a specific place, while in tandem. Doing lots of takeoff and landings as much as we can reasonably, right? Like, if there's strips like 10 feet apart from each other, probably not going to do that. Although, don't tempt me with a good time. I may just get a wild hair and do that. But yeah, that's kind of the current plan. So if this is Atlanta International Airport, actual Atlanta's about right here. KMGE, I imagine, is actually, if it's anything like Greenville, South Carolina area, that's like a city municipal airport, so a smaller one. Let's actually see. We can look up KMG and just see what the title is. Might be able to. Dobbins Air Reserve. Oh, okay. I've actually on air. I have flown KMG. Let's see KPDK. KPDK. DeKalb Peachtree. I just like the name. Let's reset in that direction. Peachtree, Georgia. I guess it all makes sense. So we will continue on towards Peachtree, and yeah, looks like a 25-minute look. A little surprised. I mean, 25 miles out. I guess the visibility wouldn't be such that we're necessarily looking right at downtown Atlanta, but a little surprised to not have seen any more kind of city type infrastructure. Something I am going to do. I think we're supposed to be down at 2992 right now, so we are going to leave that. Do a couple notches of trim here, bring that nose back up, and I think we'll settle into a nice, like, you know, plus 100 feet, minus 100 feet, plus 100 feet. We're pretty neutral right now. Gonna give it a little more throttle just to maybe pitch us up towards 2,000 feet again, and then I'll drop us back off and leave the pitch the same. But yeah, I'd like to hover in the 2,000 foot range. But yeah, looks like some beautiful lakes. A little bit of construction, maybe a high school there. Looks kind of like a high school parking lot. But yeah, now we're starting. This is kind of what I more expected, to be honest. I didn't expect like huge city before Atlanta, but kind of like a Brazelton feel almost. For those of you who've been to Brazelton, Georgia, it's home of Road Atlanta. Great racetrack if anybody's interested. But it's like beautiful area, great amenities there if you want to go out to eat, if you want to go get gas, food, drink, you know, entertainment like movie theaters, things like that. Brazelton's a good spot. It's also pretty nice, like just in general, the feel of it's pretty nice. It's not run down, not dilapidated. It has some historic looking kind of like barn farmhouses, and also has brand new houses. It has a location called Chateau Alain. It's this huge, I think it's like a vineyard, wedding, spa, country club kind of resort, almost. It looks gorgeous. It looks expensive, but it looks gorgeous, like a great place to go. So if you're in the area, it might be a good, like, you know, if you're passing through maybe 2 days in Chateau Alain, or if you're going to a race over there, checking out Road Atlanta, which is, again, a great racetrack. Super enjoy that track every time I go there. Just checking on fuel here to see if we're going to start getting unbalanced. So it looks like we're just starting to eclipse over here and not over here. So pulling from the left tank, which is congruent with what we show here. Left tank is being pulled from. I think we're going to go a little while long. I think that's why we're inadvertently banking to the right. So I think we will switch this over to the right tank and start bleeding down from it. So good to see that we're actually visually able to determine kind of what's going on fuel-wise right now. It's a big help. Looks like that might actually be Hartsfield-Jackson. I don't know for sure, because we're still a long way out, and I hesitate to think that, but it could be KLZU. I know that we're not technically on course right now. I just would have expected, maybe if we match up, let's match up with the court. Maybe it is KLZU, now that I'm thinking about it, because we're almost in line with it, and it's coming into our direct horizon. So KLZU, disregard, definitely not Hartsfield-Jackson. Let's see, what is KLZU? Not sure I've heard of that one. Bloop, up here. KGVL, interesting. KLZU, Gwinnett County, interesting. Very cool. We'll do that. And we are still on, you can see we've already started to veer off course again, which is okay. I mean, truth be told, we're not right on the direct course. Anywho, course should be 251. So we'll set our heading up like that. Good to go. Still in a really, really light headwind. So pretty nice flying so far. Low maintenance. Able to, we're not even using the flight level feature. So we can though, I guess. We do that. We'll just keep her right on the horizon here. It's a little curious that we're descending, and I don't know if that's related to what our manifold inlet pressure is, but boost that up from 19 to 20. See if it picks that front end up a little bit. I'm gonna trust the trimming that it's doing, and honestly, since I can't figure the barometer out, we'll have to be using this one anyways. We'll wait until we get down to 2,000 feet, and if we need to intervene, we'll intervene. But as it stands, great oil temp, great oil pressure, great fuel pressure. EGTs look good. As a matter of fact, we might be able to test this this EGT thing out. Let's go rich. So temperature's coming down. Okay, so let's go back lean. So I know initially when you go from full rich to leaning it out, you start increasing the EGT temperature. Oh, looks like it's starting to go back down though. We're gonna leave it alone. Let it come up and stabilize. We're actually gonna push in a little bit. Okay, I guess we were pretty close then. So it looks like when I started to lean it out more, we were decreasing. When I started to make the mixture more rich, it started to have issues. So I have clicked the trim up because we're down at 1900-ish feet now. And man, I did not intend on it actually taking this long, but in the interim, we've gotten to learn some about the airplane and how it's working. So we are actually going to drop autopilot. Oh, why are we going up? Why are we going up? Stop that right now. Okay, so definitely going to modify this trim a little bit. I mean, we could stand to go up a little bit, but my goodness. We were about to rocket ship ourselves to a whole new area. So we're technically on course heading and course-wise. We're not actually on the course line, and I think we'll actually fly out a little bit around the KLZU, the Gwinnett County airspace. We should look up what lake that is up above. Big lake fan. I don't get out to lakes enough, but I do enjoy lakes. Hopefully, I actually did a before naturally, wanting to come out with something actually usable and test some things out. I actually did a video that I didn't publish because the audio was not very good. But regardless, did one of those at a, wasn't Lake Havasu, but it was Great Salt Lake. It was Salt Lake City, Utah. And was talking about being interested in lakes and doing more on the lake, and hopefully next summer we'll I'll spend a little more time on the lake. I haven't been on, I say on the lake like I've been this year. I haven't actually been on the lake. I have been at a couple marinas, couple like lakeside areas, but not actually in a boat or jet ski or canoe or paddleboard, kayak, whatever water conduit of your choice would be. Haven't actually been in one this year to kind of enjoy being on the lake. So looking at a jet ski next year, we'll see. Would like to do some kind of adventure stuff, but it looks like up yonder, not sure if it looks like we can see a little bit of it. That is Lake Lanier, which reminds me there's actually a dirt racetrack. This is not that far from Brazelton, truth be told, but there is a dirt racetrack, Lanier Motor Speedway, Lanier Raceway. It's like I said, it's a dirt track, good for sprint cars and UMP modifieds and everything else, but shouldn't be all that far. I want to say Lanier is right across the street actually from Road Atlanta. Which that does remind me, if you're looking to fly around, or perhaps, I don't know who would have this crazy idea, but land on the front straight of Road Atlanta in Microsoft Flight Simulator, the photogrammetry from Bing Maps is pretty awful for that particular thing. They do pretty well everywhere else, not everywhere else, but they do pretty well overall. But it is not, that track, not one of their shining examples of photogrammetry. So, just as a heads up. Now, Google Maps, you might be able to get, you can import the photogrammetry from Google Maps, and it's a little bit of a process, but I would hazard a guess that it is better quality overall, and also in this specific case, than Bing Maps. See, that's kind of interesting. It looks like a lake, but it also looks like just a weird grass field, like a lake-shaped grass field. Like, the lake has dried up, and so now it's just this marshy nonsense that you can't do anything with. Very interesting. But it looks like we're, I'd say fast approaching, but fast is kind of an exaggeration. I do love this plane because of the convenience of well, the challenge and convenience. The convenience of it being able to land in fairly short distances and take off in short distances. That's the convenient part. The hard part is actually successfully landing the plane. For me, again, I know there are some very proficient tail dragger pilots out there. I don't fall into that category. A little cold in my office here. I'm gonna pull the cabin heat here, try to get toasty or something. But yeah, so I do like it, but it is not fast. It is not the cross-country wonder. It's very much an adventure, in my opinion. Maybe, real Cub pilots might have a completely different opinion, but it's my impression so far. Incredibly enjoyable, nice to fly up in the air. Got some school activities going on here. Baseball and softball fields, football track fields, donut circle for the hooligans, or hoonigans, as it were. Anyways, but really awesome plane. Just with the exception that it's not very fast. And, to be fair, in a lot of the landing cases and stuff, like, I don't really want the plane to be fast. Or a lot of the viewing, like, doing stuff like this, where we can just enjoy, like, panning over and seeing some of the awesome, housing scenery and some of the forestry scenery. It's great. And it's, I love it. But, with exception to that is the speed at which you're traveling from place to place. So, again, great adventure plane. I think we're going to have a lot of fun once we get into some of the more, adventure-prone areas. But in the interim, when we're doing this kind of cross-country deal, I'm sure there will be some lulls, and I might do some time lapses or maybe some speed throughs or cutting some of the laborious parts out. But who knows? Maybe I'll do some cinematic stuff and try to improve my video editing skills. I'd like to do more adventure stuff in real life. I've been fortunate so far that my work has had me travel a lot of places, and then in the past couple of years, my brother and I have traveled to several racetracks, kind of supporting the race program that we've established and been a part of. But so that's been been very fortunate in that regard. But I'd like to do a little bit more. I'd like to do a little more recreational travel, a little more adventure travel. I guess agendaless would be a good way to describe it. So going somewhere, maybe having a couple highlights to hit, and then leaving the rest up for discretion at the time it comes up, and just enjoying some of the unknown nature of that kind of travel, and enjoying learning new things, seeing new things you wouldn't typically do. That's not to say avoiding touristy kind of spots. I still think that there's a lot of value in those areas. That's why tourists go there, but or go to different places. But just experiencing things firsthand, enjoying some of nature, enjoying some of the suburban areas and the cultures that you get to run into across, even within the U.S. Like how different cultures can be 5 miles away, 500 miles away, or 5,000 miles away. It's pretty interesting to me. So that, and I like being outdoors, like the adventure kind of. That's one of the motivations behind doing something like getting on the lake with a jet ski or jet boat, or if worse comes to worst, a kayak. Get some good exercise, work off the sim fat, and yeah, enjoy that. But looks like we're getting into kind of a suburban area. I think we are in or near Lanier County, which makes sense since Lake Lanier is just up the way. But looks also pretty cool to see the Blue Ridge, the south end of the Blue Ridge Mountains up here. I really think that's cool because a lot of the places that I have either flown in real life or in the sim, or have been in real life or in the sim, is either going through or over the mountains, and not actually seeing the southern or northernmost tips of where those ranges start and finish. So pretty cool to see. Looks like we've gotten around the airspace for Gwinnett County. We're still on our way down to KPDK, which escapes me what the name of that is. DeKalb Peachtree. That's right. How could I forget Peachtree? And I think we will be maybe just east of like downtown Atlanta. So I'm gonna have to try to find where the best route to downtown Atlanta is, and then head that direction. I think we're still east, and we're a little bit north, because judging by the fact that we were fairly close to Lake Lanier, which is, I know, near Brazelton, gives me the impression that we are not too terribly far off from being significantly north. And I'm honestly curious, I'm a little disappointed if this is truly the case, but it probably is. Curious if that big lump mountain hill thing is actually downtown Atlanta. And I honestly can't say I'd be super surprised if it was, because the Sobo are a bunch of goofballs in making this. It is incredible, right? Like, they have literally recreated the entire Earth through AI and machine learning and every other buzzword and technology. But it's kind of funny how almost disappointing it can feel, some of the kind of faux pas. Like, you would almost rather it just not render and just be flat land until you get within a certain distance and then just pop up. Like if it was beyond this line here where we can see things have populated, it's just like that same flat land that's right here. And then as we continue to get closer, it starts like bloop, 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 just buildings coming out of nowhere. And it's one of those, like, disappointment, perhaps, but, like, not a weird mountain blob, poorly textured mountain blob at that. Yeah, no. So, my personal opinion, maybe not maybe not a popular or even accurate one, but we're actually going to head towards it. I suspect that that's going to be Atlanta. And we're gonna abandon Peachtree. I mean, a Peachtree, to be fair, was not a grass strip runway, and that is okay. I think I have landed at Peachtree before doing some on-air missions, but we're gonna go see what we can find. Oh my goodness! Finish this Premier Protein shake, which supposedly, emphasis on supposedly, has it's got 30 grams of protein, but supposedly it has the caffeine of 1 cup of coffee. I don't know if they've seen one of the cups of coffee that I make, but I'm not feeling the 1 cup of coffee caffeine load here. So to say I'm disappointed, you know, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. But yeah, let's go into active flight plan. Let's actually remove the destination here. Remove waypoint. So no destination. Honestly, we'll remove that as well. Continue to head down. I mean, it's becoming a prettier mountain blob, but we will see. So, major view out, just to give a nice little, you know, cockpit view here. Make sure we are okay. Yeah, had not a panic, but a small curiosity of whether I was flaps down at all. I'm not, which is how I want it. I do have to. I always have to bear in mind, and I am getting better about it, but that I can see in my 2 outside monitors on this triple monitor setup, but you guys cannot. So I can like look back and see right now. I can see the flaps are up, everything's good. I can actually see some of the buildings and stuff behind me, but you guys can't. So gotta be conscientious of that. But yeah, let's see what starts loading in. We certainly have loaded further out in advance, and this is starting to have. It's like there's a building on top. There's trees. Like maybe that's not a mountain blob. Maybe that is a mountain blob that's actually there, and not just a mountain blob of downtown Atlanta that's going to come into focus here shortly. I know this much. Taking off at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, you can see down. You for sure like the departures take off, and you can see downtown Atlanta. So if nothing else, we'll continue trending down in that direction and see what we find. But as we get closer here, I feel like we are past this mountain, and all we're seeing is this mountain blob. So maybe it really was it's just a poorly textured mountain blob of weirdness here. And if so, I'm gonna have to come see this place in real life. I'm gonna just drive over and say what is going on. But yeah, let's. I'm not super surprised, I guess, that this isn't Atlanta. Just based on the map, I know that Atlanta is like southwest of Peachtree, but north of Hartsfield-Jackson. So I'm gonna kind of fly towards in between both of those, see if we can find it, and we'll play it by ear from there. But I'm gonna manually. The pitch seems to be pretty good, so I'm just gonna manually pitch up here, see if we can get us up to 2,000 feet on the correct barometer, the 2992 barometer out to the left, on that altimeter gauge, and then we'll drop the nose and let her sit around that elevation. So, quick drink of my Premier Protein cafe latte shake. And if I come up missing, if for some reason there's not a video in the next like week or so, my girlfriend had left these over here, and I may or may not have, but definitely have at this point incriminated myself in creatively acquiring one. So If you don't say anything, I won't say anything. But pretty tasty. Pretty tasty indeed. So it looks like we're starting to level back out. Throw 2 clicks of trim here just as it starts to... It's a little bit of a weird thing, right? So I'm no pilot. Literally. Nope, I'm not a pilot in any capacity. But other than, you know, the virtual sim world, which counts for approximately nothing. But it's kind of interesting, you know, the plane dips down, you pick up speed, you generate more lift, plane comes back up, you lose speed, you lose lift, comes back down, and there's like this fine balance of trimming the plane where it just kind of oscillates between those two measures. And part of it is the trimming process, but part of it's the throttle process too, right? Like you gotta, it's a weird multi-dimensional balance. It's like pitch of the aircraft, speed of the aircraft, and trim, like the set trim of the aircraft. So like as the plane starts to pitch and changes speed, you know, what is your trim causing it to react and do? And then is your throttle forcing it to do that in an undesirable way or just in an unpredictable way, maybe? It's an interesting dynamic. It takes me back to my college days of dynamics and vibrations, where you have your damped and undamped systems and your PID controllers and all of the things that I'm glad I don't have to at least program on an intimate basis nowadays. Still work with systems that have those involved. I just don't have to understand the minutia of it, if you will, to successfully do my job. So yeah, interesting stuff indeed. But yeah, I would expect here that off to our right we would be seeing some landmarks or indications of downtown Atlanta. Maybe not super close, but in the miles away that we would be seeing that. So I'm a little surprised to see that that's not been the case. But that being said, it's just a weird thing trying to. Let's see. In case you're wondering, I am looking on my phone. I don't have a convenient way to like Alt-tab out where it doesn't make everything, you know, look Alt-tabbed out to you guys. So I am doing some perhaps Google Maps type business here. But it looks like it is direct north of Atlanta Airport, so it's got to be off to our right. I think we're going to actually peel off here to our right and head that direction, because I'm thinking if we go perpendicular to north, in other words, if we're going west, we're going to run into it, and I think that's the call I'm making. We'll see if it plays out. It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out. It looks like we're hovering on that 2,000 mark, which is great. Oh, there it is. There it is. That's so funny how I was like, you know, they should just make the buildings pop up out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden the buildings pop up out of nowhere. Ask and you shall receive. Asobo. Thanks for such fast response to my feedback. Much appreciated. Well, awesome. Let's enjoy a couple fly arounds. I say we circle the city a couple times. Not gonna do any crazy like meow, you know, between building maneuvers, because one, it's silly and juvenile. Two of the things that I am too often accused of, and in an effort to reform my ways, I will refrain. But yeah, we'll fly around and enjoy the city, see it, maybe do a flyover over the top of it. And yeah, enjoy what the views have to offer here. You know, I say 2 or 3 times. If we want to do more, we'll do more. If we want to do less, we'll do less. Like, man, Atlanta's boring. Let's do something else, then we'll do something else. But looks like fuel's balancing out nicely, which is good. But yeah, let's hop over here. And well, I know that there is Mercedes Stadium. I have driven through the like front side of it on my trips to and from where I'm at now in Texas. But yeah, gorgeous place, lots of industry, lots of work down here, lots of engineering as well. I know Delta, both the hub at Atlanta Airport, but also Delta proper, like the company is based, has some of their operations based down here. So lots of aerospace. Looks like lots of really cool areas. Again, I've been in downtown once. Went to the Hard Rock Cafe. Do recommend. On my very first trip from Texas out to the East Coast via car, I stopped in at the Hard Rock Cafe for about 11 hours of driving, and maybe longer, but I think about 11 hours of driving, and yeah, stopped at a Hard Rock Cafe, parked in a parking garage. Parking garage did not smell good. I will say that much. The parking garage did not smell good. But the rest was just fine. And the Hard Rock Cafe was excellent. Had some wings, had some French fries, had some ranch, because your boy loves ranch. If you're a blue cheese person, just go ahead and don't bother subscribing. But just kidding. We, you know, I mean, you don't have to bother subscribing, but we will accept. We will be equal opportunity ranch and blue cheese. But just, you should know that ranch is better. Like, I hope your parents raised you well enough to know that ranch is the vastly superior condiment for dipping. Anyways, yeah, it was a great time. It definitely delayed my trip getting to where I'm at now. So I was like 2.5 hours away, and I was there for a fair amount of time. And I haven't seen this one in person before. I haven't seen the camouflaging invisible building. So let me know what that's all about. If anybody's seen that building and are familiar with its hyper camouflage technology, by all means, I'd love to read up on it. But pretty awesome city, to be honest. Major highway system. I've never been stuck in Atlanta traffic, but I can only imagine if it's like Dallas traffic. It's miserable. But yeah, so much industry. Was there a car on that building? No, okay. My eyes were playing tricks on me. I was going to say, that is incredible. But yeah, so much opportunity in this city. I know several people who have worked or have moved to work from places across the country to work here. But know a lot of people who have worked in Atlanta, and there's just that it comes across as though the job opportunities are endless there, regardless of industry, whether it's retail, restaurant, engineering, business, finance. You know, there's if there's an industry, there's probably an opening in Atlanta for you. So very, very cool city. I'd like to find the Mercedes Stadium. I actually don't know who plays there. Probably should know that. I'm assuming maybe the Atlanta Hawks, or is it the Hawks or the Falcons? Not an NFL follower, really, in the slightest. And what's funny is, being from Texas, everybody loves Dallas Cowboys. And I don't have anything against the Dallas Cowboys, but I don't have, like, you know, I'm not rock hard for the Dallas Cowboys. It's not my, just professional football in general isn't really my gig. And, I mean, to be fair, college football was only my gig while in college. I should follow it more. I appreciate the people that do. And I am in a city now where it's like heavily followed. But yeah, if I'm gonna pick a football, you know, league or variant to watch, probably gonna be college. But yeah, let's see if we can find here the stadium. For some reason, I was thinking it was on like the southwest corner, but maybe it's not. Maybe that's just like a bunch of nonsense and not at all true. So let's fly out a little bit. Let me trim this Johnny up just so we don't run into the ground. Okay, so my understanding now, based on the quick Google search, it is in northwest Georgia. Which makes sense that it's at least on the west side. I feel better that I knew that much, since that's where I had been coming from when I drove through and past it. But I really thought it was on the southern end. Granted, hindsight, I don't know that I actually go through the southern side of Atlanta, so let's see here. This should be the northwest-ish side of downtown, and perhaps it's not actually loaded in as a recognizable building in Asobo's reality here. I've already roasted them once, and then they came back, you know, and the problem was resolved. So, so I think I'm actually north of where it's at. I think this is like Blandtown. So we're gonna just curve down over here and head direct south and see if we can find it. Okay, so we should be on course to find it now. I believe it's actually a little bit east of here, so we should be seeing it off to our left. But I will try to make sure, because I know the highway runs like parallel here, so like highway should be running like this, and then it's gonna curve out, and that's where this place should be. So if we run into another major highway, if we run perpendicular into another major highway, then we can triangulate the location over to where it's supposed to be. So hopefully that pans out and we actually find it. I presume that the stadium has been around long enough that whenever, because I'm pretty sure it was out before Asobo and Microsoft released this game. That being said, though, when they took the photogrammetry data is another question. So they may have taken the photo. Oh, is it over? Oh, I see. It's smushed. So, for those of you who are interested in Mercedes Stadium, it's actually just a big painting on the ground. There's no stadium. And that's it. That's the end of the story. So this is actually, yeah, you can see the Mercedes-Benz deal right here and right there. I'm just trying not to run into those buildings. But yeah, so I have driven across the like little, not parking lot areas, but the front area where that car was just at several times. I say several, twice. I've driven across it like twice, maybe 3 or 4 times, but for sure twice. And yeah, it's really nothing special, but the stadium itself is actually really cool. Really cool to see in person. If I can pull up a picture of it, I may insert the picture here, and I may or may not try at a later date. I'm not probably gonna put it in this series or this this deal, but do some Google photogrammetry retrieval and see about inserting that and just doing a little flyover, you know, short, maybe a 5-minute flight, just highlighting the stadium itself. But Atlanta, awesome city, great place to be. You know, it's an interesting place for sure. I know it's been covered a little bit more in the last year or so, specific to some social justice issues, which, to be fair, so has like pretty much every city, right? Like if a city has been broadcasted, it's probably been broadcasted for one of those things. So interesting to note, but it was great circling over. Certainly a cool place to visit. Lots of opportunity. If there's a place to consider going and starting a career, or you know, looking for a new opportunity, that's a place I'd recommend, at least based solely off the experience I've had going through and seeing what's available and searching for careers and jobs that are there. And then the people that I know who have previously worked, and then some that have gone to work there and are currently working in Atlanta. So that is Atlanta done. We have made we've been at this for a while now, to be honest. Looks like it's about 11 o'clock local time. So I say we head west for a little bit. Hang out at our current flight level, about 2,000-ish feet, just under, and we'll head west, get away from the city, certainly get out of this airspace a little bit. I am surprised that we have not seen more aircraft just flying around. This is like one of the busiest airports in the world, so very surprised to not see any of those. But we're gonna zoom in a little bit. It looks like there's this 0G0. Let's looks like it's a little ways away, but let's check. Pinewood, 2,000 foot approach runway. We bled off some of the let's activate. We've burned off some of the fuel. Not really enough to say like, oh, we just land wherever now. But see, this is what I don't understand right now. Distance and estimated time on route. I guess I don't understand it. I don't get where it's getting those figures. Because per the deal here, we're 16 miles away. So let's just go ahead and travel on course here. Just make a quick maneuver over. All right, so we're flat again. So yeah, I don't understand. And maybe it has to do with the origin. I mean, the origins user, which I don't understand as an issue, I guess. So what's the big idea, actually? What is the deal? I have no idea. You know, I in general, I don't have an issue with it. It's a little annoying that we don't have a clear estimated time on route, but you know, I suppose if that's the worst thing we have to worry about, we're doing okay. So, starting to get a little bit to the left, wondering if it's the fuel tank, because we're selected on the right fuel tank. Yep. And this Johnny is down. I mean, it's certainly down more than this one is, I think. Yeah. But still doing fine. I'm surprised. I'd be surprised if it was really causing our deflection here. But it looks like we're back on course. We're good to go on heading 280. So let's do that. And yeah, let's try the level mode. I'm not fond of the nose down attitude that it seems to have. It doesn't seem to actually keep, and maybe it's keeping it level. I don't know. Like level to me means neutral, you know, altitude change attitude, but that's okay. We are going to release autopilot. Trim ourselves around here, and yeah. Also, just got another radio in from ATC from Cobb County, McCollum Field. We're still set to 2992, so that's good to go. I'm gonna go one notch of trim upwards and keep ourselves on course here at 280. That looks like we're dropping some more here. I was going to increase the throttle a little bit, but it looks as though that one click of trim will do it. So yeah, what a long-ish flight. You know, it's interesting, like, doesn't hold a lot of fuel, but because it burns so little fuel as well, like, we could go full rich, and it's only an extra gallon per hour. So heating it up, and you can see our EGT just like sunk. So if we were to have any cooling issues, that I say that could help. I mean, and it could help. I don't know that it would be a functional solution across the board, but it could certainly help and assist. Down to 6. Now we're really fuel efficient. We're in eco mode, eco flight mode. But yeah, the rest of this should be pretty interesting. I think at least for this episode, we will get down here, land at let's see here, what's the name of this place? Pinewood. We will land down at Pinewood, and may call it there, and then may just have if I do some more flying west. You know, admittedly, I struggle with some of the, since commentary-wise, since there's not a lot of landmarks out this direction, or even in some of the cases when we were going down towards Atlanta, I struggle with some of what to fill commentary-wise. So what I may end up doing, it looks pretty exciting down in these areas. So I may come in, land here, well, in today's or this episode, and we may just do a huge, maybe even like without commentary, maybe just a time lapse of takeoff, landing, you know, takeoff, landing, takeoff, landing, takeoff, landing, takeoff, landing, takeoff, landing, takeoff, landing. And really just do like a little southern circuit here, and then continue heading west. You know, just to make sure we do have some pretty enjoyable takeoff and landing content. Probably I would hazard a guess we're gonna have some bloopers, because you've seen my landings thus far. But we're gonna keep the fuel the same. We're gonna try to keep the. We're gonna try. I will. I'll try to document it or monitor that at the end of this flight here. We're going to try to keep the fuel the same and refuel as needed as we get to different locations, and kind of enjoy that aspect of realism, I suppose. But yeah, pretty good day so far, I'd say, of flying. Despite my yawning, which now I'm talking about it, and now it's happening. So funny, I feel like I hadn't been yawning for a while, and then as soon as I said the word yawning, it was like, nope, you're yawning now. But yeah, Been a pretty good day of flying so far. Had one, you know, minor incident with a house, and they were cool about it. So yeah, we'll keep on keeping on, see what this airstrip looks like. Might be forced to go to a different area. Now, fuel-wise, we're actually doing pretty good on the burn. Like, as much as I want to make sure we have the range that we want, I'm also kind of happy that that we're burning. Like, I hesitate to go full rich, right? Oh, ignore that. I would like to go, you know, actually see how far we can get. I'm curious how far we've flown today, to be honest. I might have to go map that out on SimBrief or something like that, and get the total distance, because again, it's misleading, right? Like, it feels like we've been flying for a while, but that's also because we may not have actually gone that far. This plane's just not super fast. For example, where I decided to wreck old lady's house was only 16 miles from where we took off. And although it didn't feel like all that long until we got there, you know, still a slow aircraft, so and you know, I say slow, although if you compare our ground speed to what we'd be doing driving, pretty fast. We certainly wouldn't have made it here in this time in real life with a car. Okay, so it looks as though this is the area. I can't tell, maybe it's over there. But all of this looks a little sketch, to be honest. Perhaps it is... No, that can't be it up there. Herm, let's, maybe it's further up. Let's check here. So it makes it look like it is direct right of us. Or now it makes it look like it's behind us. I am not sure about that, Chief. We will, I was going to look it up, or not look it up, but look at it in third person, but in the spirit of challenge and realism, we will first force ourselves to identify it in the plane itself. So maybe it also made it seem like we'd be coming across almost perpendicular to how we're coming right now, but I don't see any of these. Oh, is it right? I think it's right there. Okay, let's going to try to get... That's going to be a tough one to point out because so much of this land looks exactly the same. Okay. Let's get... I think we're about parallel with it. That's about south. Let's pull our heading so we at least have an idea of where we need to be pointed. Get a little bit away from it. I was a little hard on the controls, I'll be honest, but man, that's a tough... Like, if we needed to land here, I feel like reasonable request. But man, that's gonna be a request, a steep one. And as much as I do love challenges, as you can tell from my multiple accidents here, I think, okay, so I think, let's just slow it down here. I think it's right on our nose here. We're gonna go one notch of flaps just to get us floating here. I think this is, oh yeah, we do have a little bit of a crosswind. It's a light crosswind, but it is like direct perpendicular. Okay. I got random cars driving around. Okay, so we're gonna have to dip it in like right here. And land it and not run into something like I tend to do. So let's match. We are 100% aligned with the runway now. We were at 30 degrees. Let's do that. We're gonna go full rich just to make sure we have all the power and such that we need. A bank left. Throw the flaps up. We're gonna do another, I think, another test pass, because that was one heck of a approach and one heck of a expectation for landing. That's the thing, like, from these Georgia runways that I'm learning is they so often have steep tree approaches. Like, there are so many trees in the approach. You it's damn near a struggle to, you know, dip in without hitting one, but also get the plane slowed down enough. So we should be clear of the trees now. We're gonna dip down. It's a little too aggressive on that, but I think we have enough space for a landing, and I think there's enough tree clearance here for us to do a similar approach. We're gonna go, we are flaps up. So we'll keep, we're gonna keep, come on, keep trimmed up. Okay. If you were wondering what that prompt was, I am using Flight Recorder. That's what I meant to say earlier. So Flight Recorder is the name of the like application where you can replay a clip, like a flight clip. So basically, right now it's recording. Whenever I land, you know, I can stop the recording and go back and view it, and then I can do different camera angles. So I can get some onboard ones, I can get some static ones, I can get some drone ones. I can get all kinds of different angles and make some pretty cool kind of like, what's the word? Not scenic, cinematic. That's the buzzword. Cinematic shots, which is really pretty cool. It's pretty fun. I'm not an expert on it. Definitely not any editing or videography or anything like that kind of expert. So should be wings clear of trees now. We're gonna dip down and drop that plane down. Don't worry, not going into the buildings here. Okay, that was better. Again, not expert, but better. All right, let's see where we're at. All right, not bad at all. Let's taxi. Again, about 11 o'clock. Good time for some brunch. Not quite lunchtime, but certainly past breakfast time. So you see everything ahead of us there on the runway. See that random car driving by. Then I think we'll actually park over here by the by the building over here. Maybe even in between the building and the house. New challenge, parking challenge. So maybe not directly in between, but should be off the runway. Parking brakes on. Oh yeah, that'll certainly do. We're out of the way. Oh yeah, this will work. Let's while we can, let us check out. I just learned, so now I'm all excited because I just learned, you know, how to use the drone camera. So let me actually try to do a little bit of a showcase of this runway. It's pretty sweet. It's not super long. I think it was showing 2,000 feet, but nonetheless very enjoyable. Glad we came in the way we did. We were able to get fairly low. I was still a little bit nervous on the trees. I think we just barely came over the top of them, but I'll actually put in a clip of the landing from a kind of a third-party drone type view here towards the end, just as a fun end segment. But I think that's what we're gonna do for this particular video. And yeah, I think for me at least, I certainly enjoyed it. It was good to go around downtown Atlanta. One thing we will do, almost forgot. So we got our fuel levels up here. We will throw our fuel thing up on board, so now it's documented. We know how much is in each tank, and we can make sure that we take off next time with the same amount of fuel. So thanks for watching. Like I said, there's going to be a little bit of a clip from maybe some of the landings from today, maybe just this one, and yeah, we'll continue our east to west southern expedition here. Might have some kind of interim videos of that are just kind of time-lapsed and shorts, basically 5-minute or less videos of going between airport to airport, dropping in, dropping back up. We'll document the fuel load over at the beginning as well and the end so that we can keep track of it. But yeah, thanks, and see you next time.